Hello, everyone. You are watching Know Your Rights Policy and Legislation Breakdown Tuesday with me, Christina Lasker, and National Parents Union. I hope that you're all well. I hope that you're all thriving. Hello to America's beautiful children. We love you. And so, it's we're under some kind of weather alert here. I think that this is just happening everywhere. If you hear that whistling sound in the background, it is not me. I cannot talk and whistle. I can talk. I can maybe chew bubble gum and talk, but it's not me whistling and talking. It is the wind. But I'm just glad to be alive. We have to think about every moment of every day. What are we grateful for? Because if not, we can kind of have a tendency to just groan and moan and complain. But you know what? I'm just grateful to be alive and breathing. As I said, today is Know Your Rights. On Tuesdays, I'm breaking down things, with regards to policies, legislation that have to do with education. So I'm excited to bring some information to you guys today, and I'm going to start screen sharing. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment field, or you can always contact me. My information is streaming at the bottom. And so here we go. I'm going to start sharing. Let's see. All right. Let's go to the tab. Okay. And here is what we're going to share first. All right. So I don't know how many of you have seen this. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Let's see if we can fix this. Anyway, the article that I'm sharing this tab, yes. The article that I'm sharing, you can locate it on CNN. In 2018, it talks about how a group of students began to sue over the lack of civics education. I'm going to try to refresh and see if that will help, because you guys can't see that because I don't know what happened. It's still spinning on my end. Okay, let's see. That's it right there. We just take it one moment at a time every day. All right, so here you can see this says December 1st, 2018. One thing that I'd like to do is always fact check and always date check. When I'm looking at media, I try to see if it's a reputable source, and I check multiple sources so that I can have every angle possible and know what's going on. But here it is reported that there are students who are suing in Rhode Island over the lack of civics education. I will drop this original article in the chat. The students' claim in their lawsuit is that Rhode Island was failing to teach civics and prepare students to be capable citizens. And so 14 students say that the state provided such substandard education that it violates their rights under the Constitution, right? The state defendants, have failed to provide the named plaintiffs and tens of thousands of other students in Rhode Island an education that is adequate to prepare them to function productively as civic participants. And so I definitely want you to check that out, but I wanted to show the initial, steps that were taken before we saw the Supreme Court decision that was just handed down about this. So here is the article that was initially where it shows the lawsuit. I'm going to stop sharing and bring up the next one. And it's really sad, when the parents are saying, look, our children should have a right to a high quality public education, and our voices are not being heard. And then our children are fighting in the courts for a right to a high quality education and are still not being heard. I just have to say that, it really is tragic. I think that is a tragic time in our country where students are being failed. They're not receiving an adequate, even lots of states' laws and constitutions talk about basic, minimum. What is that? Adequate, right? Definitely not adequate according to our standards. Basic in the law, well, who's interpreting basic, adequate, minimal, right? If kids can't read and write, I would call that failing even the basic, minimal, or adequate standards. So these children took the lawsuit, and here is the findings or the rulings. After that, I'm going to start screen sharing. You guys bear with me because I am not that tech guru, but I make it work. I make it do what it do. So here we go. Let's see. All right. So what happened? So I shared with you the original suit, and here's the decision. So you see that the federal judge rules that students have no constitutional right, and they have all of these ads. Amazon, I do not want to buy velvet chairs right now. Sorry about that. And so you see that the federal judge rules that students don't have a constitutional right to civics education. But the interesting part of this is that he did leave an opinion that I would say is a very good opinion, in his decision. And I want to take us to that. So it shows you right here, again, you always want to check the dates, right? You want to see, is this a reputable source, right? And we have right here, it says the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness, right? So here we see the federal judge ruled that students, the one that I just showed you about the students from Rhode Island who brought their suit in 2018, I think that, yeah. And so the students suing Rhode Island state officials for failing to provide comprehensive civic education have no constitutional right to receive it. Wow, right? But he said that the case highlights a deep flaw in the country's education priorities. Now, we know that to be true, right? I know that many of you, as I was, watching the presidential debates, waiting to find out if we were going to have an in-depth conversation or even acknowledgement about the persistent issues in K-12 education. And you know what? They came up short, didn't discuss it, really don't feel like it's a priority with regards to, leadership. Really don't feel like it's a priority looking around at state leadership either. And so, it continues to happen. And even this judge says that it's a deep flaw, in the country's education priorities, and warned that American democracy is in peril amid creeping authoritarianism, right? And so, we talk about monopolies in education, and people should not be able to create monopolies by monopolizing through the traditional education system. But what we see is something totally opposite. And so I feel like this is a part of that warning. We should be able to choose what is best for our children and have quality public education options available for our choices. Our children should have access and opportunity to those options. We should not be stuck in perpetual cyclical generational failure because someone wants to dictate what they think is best for our kids instead of listening to us, and apparently not listening to our children either, as they're bringing suits. And I'm seeing these lawsuits not just in Rhode Island, but if you can look in California, you can look everywhere, and you will see that this is the case. We're going to talk about that more in depth as we go through this whole decision. Here you see, a little bit more. Here's what the judge said, okay? He said that the public school students who filed the lawsuit were not on a wild-eyed effort to expand the reach of substantive due process. So he was saying that they were pretty much accurate in what they were doing. They weren't just like doing it willy-nilly. They weren't just doing it without cause, right? He said they were issuing a cry for help from a generation of young people who are destined to inherit a country which we, the generation currently in charge, are not stewarding well. Let that sink in, right? Especially for folks my age and older. We have to be willing, ready, to teach and train up the next generation to listen and allow their voices to be heard, to disperse our power, or else we'll die in it. Let that sink in, right? We have to be concerned and prioritize this upcoming generation and the next. Okay, we need to be able to steward our gifts, our talents, abilities. We need to be able to make sure that they are thriving and not just barely surviving, wondering, like, what about me? Right? You know, I am hearing horror stories, and I hear some testimonials too. Don't get me wrong, but they're far and few between with regards to K to 12 traditional public education, failing millions of children. You see that not a priority in the presidential debates. Thank God it's a priority. Us here at National Parents Union have public statements. You can check that out on nationalparentsunion.org. It is a priority. K to 12 education, you don't get a redo. You need to be paying attention to what is happening step by step and making sure your voice, your rights are activated, and that your students are thriving, and that when they tell you something, believe it. Believe it. I give that advice all the time. Even if it sounds far-fetched, believe it. Okay, so he goes on to say, what these young people seem to recognize is that American democracy is in peril. Its survival and their ability to reap the benefit of living in a country with robust freedoms and rights, a strong economy, and a moral center protected by the rule of law is something that citizens must cherish, protect, and constantly work for. We would do well to pay attention to their plea. Okay, I'm going to share this article in the chat. Go there now. Here's the article. There you have it. And I want to just make sure that you actually have the case. You can read more on what the judge said. If you read, the case is right here. I don't know if you have to have a Scribd subscription or not, but I was able to view the case. I will show you what it looks like really quick. Let me stop sharing. And if you guys have any questions, again, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So I'm going to go to the actual lawsuit so that we can look at that right now. Okay, I have to go right here to screen share. Again, thank you for bearing with me as I navigate with you on the internet. All right. So you can see, and let me make sure you can see. Yep, it's up there. All right. So here you can see that the civics education lawsuit, right? And there you will find all the information. Make sure that you look, you can cross check, fact check. I always say fact check, okay? Here you see that it is the United States District Court for the District of Rhode Island. You see the minor by parent and guardian ad litem are the plaintiffs, and you see who the defendants are. I talked about et al, meaning all the parties involved. Okay, you can see the opinion and order issued by William E. Smith, the district judge, right? Gives you the background, introduction. You know, the Rhode Island public school students have filed a putative class action in this court through their guardians or parents, right? So here you see that information that was also summarized in the article. Tells you more information, of course, in the footnotes of who the parties are and whatever he's talking about. you can see that some of the plaintiffs, right? So we're going to talk about who were the plaintiffs. They are residents of Rhode Island enrolled in public schools across the state in grades 7 through 12, as well as one preschool age student who will eventually be enrolled in public school. Now, I find that to be amazing, because I will tell you that we need to be making sure that our children have high quality education from cradle to career, period. Right? And so they're lifelong learners. We don't just start, they're going to be in 7th grade. Let me figure this out. No, be aware of what's happening to your child from birth until they graduate. Make sure that they thrive. And even after that, us as parents have a lifelong commitment to our children. But we need to be setting them up for success and not allowing them to be stuck in failure. And I talked about that already. Okay. And so the preschool age student, and so we see right here, some of the plaintiffs have received English language learner services or special education services. These students allege that various public officials have failed to provide them and other similarly situated students with an education that is adequate to prepare them to function productively as civic participants. And look at the list, you guys. Capable of voting, serving on a jury, understanding economic, social, and political systems sufficiently to make informed choices. How can you expect someone to make an informed decision if they don't have the knowledge or haven't been able to acquire the knowledge to do so? That's like telling a 4-year-old to do algebraic, come up with an algebraic equation and that 4-year-old hasn't been introduced to that concept. Right? And so I agree with these students that they should be more than adequately prepared to function productively in democratic societies as civic participants capable of voting, serving on a jury, right? Some of us get those jury duty obligatory letters, and they're saying they want to be ready and able to do that. They don't want to just go in without the knowledge and the skill and the mindfulness of making informed decisions. Understanding economic, social, and political systems. Why not? If you have to live beholden to the system and it's economic, social, and political, why wouldn't you want to be able to understand those systems that you're responsible to live under or that are over you, right? You don't want an uneducated populace. Well, we don't, but I believe that government is not seeing it the same way. However, this particular judge is making an opinion in his decision, and I'll share that with you. Political systems and sufficiently to make informed choices and to participate effectively in civic activities. So who are our next board members? Who are our next politicians? Who are our next leaders? Who are our next government officials? These children today, right? They need to have the skill set today, not tomorrow. They're alive today. They're asking today. They shouldn't be even asking. They should have been prepared without having to go to the courts to demand that they are capable of voting, that they're civic participants able to participate on and serve on a jury, able to understand economic, social, and political systems sufficiently to make informed decisions, right? Able to participate effectively in civic activities. What are they learning in school? I don't expect that the public traditional school is even seeking to educate them on this, because my opinion is that the public traditional education is not a mode to freedom from oppression, but is a mode to colonization. And how can we create a working class? And so I am so glad that these students understood that they wanted more and they wanted something meaningful. They wanted exactly what should be taking place, and they were willing to sue. The students contend that this failure violates their constitutional rights under the Equal Protection, Privileges, and Immunities and Due Process Clauses of the 14th Amendment, the 6th and 7th Amendments, and the Jury Selection and Service Act and Republican Guarantee Clause of Article 4. So here I want to just take a pause. A lot of people ask me, Christina, well, we thought that there was a guarantee that was placed in the original Constitution with regards to education. And, if you haven't read the Constitution, you should take some time to go ahead and do that. In the original Constitution, in our Constitution, there was no guarantee with regards to K to 12 education, right? And so a lot of times, and I'll bring it up later, just case law and case history, what has really shaped and molded some of the happenings in K through 12. A lot of it is just the state sovereignty. They have compulsory attendance laws. We're not really going to talk about compulsory attendance. I am going to do a whole segment on compulsory attendance. Today, I wanted to bring up this case so that you could begin to really think about what is happening in education. Students that are being failed. They brought this lawsuit years ago. Now it's just finally the decision, and they do plan on appealing. I'm going to share that too. But this is what they're asking for. I feel like this is realistic, reasonable. This is pragmatic. This is not something that they should have even had to take into court, right? But obviously, common sense ain't so common nowadays. So here we go. Going further. In addition to the total lack of, or at least inadequate civics instructions, they also point to limited opportunities for student involvement in co-curricular and extracurricular activities. The elimination of library media specialists, no opportunities for field trips to the state legislature. Really? Wow. I mean, think about what they're asking. They're asking up here, I shared that with you, to be able to be informed, well-informed citizens, to be able to pour back into society through jury duty, through civic engagement, through the economic, social, and political realm, and they were being denied that, right? Library media specialists. Really? Like, you have to go to court for this? Like I said, common sense isn't so common anymore. So here we have no field trips to the state legislature, city council, or courts. So you expect for students, and these are high school students, one which was a preschool age student who would be entering the public schools, who are asking for a field trip to the state legislature, to the city council, or the courts, and not granted that opportunity. Asking for a library media specialist and had to sue because they don't have access to that. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about created achievement gaps, persistent, slow, lethargic achievement gaps, really in how the traditional public education system continues to fail our children and us, turn around and blame it on them and us, and then get more funding. Does that make sense to you? I don't think so. And so we need to be making sure that we're demanding, even to the point of escalation, just like these students and brave parents did, taking it to the court, not stopping. They're going to continue to appeal and take it to the higher courts. That is within our rights as citizens. We need to be following suit and doing the very same thing, having an escalation process, right? We're not going to just stop here and allow the local elected representatives to tell us we're not going to do that right now. We're going to wait 5 or 10 years and maybe we'll trick a lot of plan the traditional school district to do the same. No, we're not. We don't need to wait. This is a today, urgent, right now situation. And our voices need to be valued and respected, because if we don't drop our kids off, we don't enroll them, they wouldn't even have students to fail or serve. Choose which one you will do today, not tomorrow, right? And so here they talk about no or very limited options for student participation in school governance or school affairs. I have been talking about allowing students a voice in the school boards, right? Allowing them a part of the advisory councils, right? Here's what the students are saying themselves. They don't have or have very limited options for school participation, student participation in school governance or school affairs, and no or very limited school newspapers. School-sponsored speech and debate or moot court activities. I find these to be reasonable, realistic requests. I don't know what your opinion of it may be, but I'll tell you, these are reasonable, realistic requests. And it helps for society be better by allowing them to engage, civic engagement, right? By way of remedy, the students are asking the court to declare that all students in the United States, the Rhode Island students, were not just concerned about what's happening and them being failed in Rhode Island. They're trying to set a precedent for all students in the United States to have a right under the Constitution to a meaningful educational opportunity that will adequately prepare them to be capable voters and jurors, as well as to exercise all of their constitutional rights and function as civic participants. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I think I have them nearby. Well, in a democratic society. That to me is profound, that the students would be requesting these things. Here it is right here. The plaintiffs also asked the court to enjoin the defendants from failing to adopt such laws, regulations, policies, and practices as are necessary to ensure that those educational opportunities are provided. And so, again, I'm going to leave this. I already left this in the chat. You can go ahead and look at that. I'm going to stop screen sharing. The judge starts giving his opinion, and he uses some information to back that up. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Let's go back to the article that summarizes all this. And so I dropped the information to the article. I dropped the information to 2018, where there was media coverage on them pursuing the lawsuit. Here's the results of the lawsuit. And so we go back and we talk about what happened. What did the judge say? He was saying that we should pay attention to their plea. So the class action lawsuit, we already talked about that. That information is available to you. We went through, I showed you the lawsuit. Okay. So his ultimate decision in his ruling was that in regard to the contention by students that their constitutional rights included a right to civics and education, he says that regrettably no, right? However, that the students should be commended for bringing the case, okay, and believed it to be the first of its kind in the U.S. courts. Our children are desiring a high quality public education. Here at National Parents Union, we are advocating and fighting for a right to a high quality public education. This is exactly what they're saying. The students are saying. Again, The judge says it highlights a deep flaw in our national education priorities and policies. I already talked about how that's apparent. I didn't hear any viable plan, any conversation over the presidential debates, vice presidential debates, with regards to K to 12 education, though we know that our children are being failed. This year, we can clearly see that what we've already had, as far as our U.S. system of education, is not working, right? So the court cannot provide the remedy the plaintiffs seek, but in denying that relief, the court adds its voice to plaintiffs in calling attention to their plea. Hopefully, others who have the power to address this need will respond appropriately. I'll tell you who has power to address it. We, the parents, can stop leaving our children in failing school systems and failing schools and demand high quality education. Every single student that that is in the system, to them, becomes a dollar sign. And I'm sorry, I thought I was screen sharing. Let me share that. I'm just reading it to you guys, and I'm not even sharing it. So here you go. Here it is right here. And so we can demand it. We need to be making sure that we have an escalation process too. What do I mean by that? Just like these students did, right? They were willing to take their case all the way to court, and they're not done. Even though this judge decided that they didn't have a right or a guarantee within the Constitution, a right to civic education, they're still going to appeal. And so I wanted to share this with you. It goes on to talk about a precedent that was set in Detroit, okay, a historic lawsuit. Again, you see, students in low-performing district school system have a constitutional right to expect to learn to read and write, talking about that basic minimum, some people call adequate. If your child is not learning to read and write in their school, I would call that beyond failure. I'd call that wicked. How many hands did the child go through year after year? And I've had parents who their children had dyslexia, were dyslexic. Some were not, okay? Still 12th graders reading at a third or fourth grade level. That's evil to me. So you can look and see that lawsuit also, I will drop it in the chat just in case you want to do some more research around it. Here it comes. Okay, and so those students in some of the lowest performing schools, long trouble, schools, their underlying case was based on the due process equal protection clauses of the 14th Amendment, which were also a part of the Rhode Island civics education. So we have students in Detroit saying that they should have the right to be able to read and write. That should be a basic education, right? But apparently they had to sue because that wasn't considered basic and it wasn't guaranteed in Detroit. And then you have students in Rhode Island who are saying that they feel their right should be protected and guaranteed under the Constitution for a high quality education that includes civics engagement, how to vote, voting, visiting the state council, city councils, legislature, understanding the economic, political, and social systems, understanding how to make informed decisions, knowing how to be well-informed citizens, right? So that's what that civics education. So you have one state saying our children need to have a right to be able to read and write in the city of Detroit, right? Michigan. Then you have Rhode Island saying, we should have a right through education to actually learn viable things that we'll need to function in society. All of these point to the necessity to have a right and a guarantee to a high quality education. So anyway, I wanted to move on to this. And here's what you guys need to know. The U.S. Supreme Court has never decided the issue of whether the Constitution provides a fundamental right to a basic minimum education. And advocates for the plaintiffs in the Detroit literacy case were concerned that the High Court, with 2 justices nominated by President Trump, would not uphold the appellate court decision. We are seeing that there are some opinions out there by experts saying that they do not feel that that this will be upheld, the decision that was made in the higher courts, which would be tragic. Again, we need to be pursuing everything we have for our children because we can't wait for these people to do it. Yes, we would love to see it guaranteed in the Constitution as a constitutional right. Yes, we would love to see it, guaranteed through states' rights and to be held accountable. Like all the mandates should be, there should be accountability measures in place, right? We definitely want to move beyond basic, words like basic, minimum, right? What is that? What is basic and minimum? Does that mean that your child's going to spend 10 years and should only be reading 5 words? What is basic and minimum? I want to know, right? It's definitely not what we're looking for. And so you can go ahead and check this out. The students, instead of basic and minimum, we're asking that the constitutional right to meaningful educational opportunity, right? That would adequately prepare them, right? And so we want to move beyond basic and minimum. Basic and the minimum to me is does a child understand certain things like you have to wake up and brush your teeth in the morning, right? Hey, I'm just saying. That they know how to do certain things as lifelong learners, certain things that they do need to learn, that are not supposed to be really taught in school. We're talking about the public education system. I don't want to send my kid or enroll my kid into a school that's just going to teach them something basic and minimum. Like, what is that? But yet we still see in 2020 fighting for the right to have a meaningful education, and some people fighting what does basic and minimum and adequate mean, right? And so I will be sharing, again, this information's already in there. I'm going to stop screen sharing. I want to go to a picture to share with you guys of the students. And they made a, let's see, short video here I want to share with you guys. So you could be following. Like I said, they were planning to sue, and I definitely support that. So here is the video. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it and see it. Sorry about the commercial. Okay, I don't think that you guys are able to hear it. So what I'm going to do is just share this in the chat so that you can look at it. Okay, you can find it there. And you can find the students' pictures. You can definitely look at that brief video so you can hear it in their own words. Here are the students' pictures right here. Again, they have decided that they will be continuing to pursue. I'm going to stop sharing. They're going to appeal it. And you know what? I hope that they win that. Now, let's see. I wanted to give you guys the Michigan case so you can look at that. I already put that in the chat. Let me see. Did I put that in the chat? Sorry, bear with me. All right. Here is the Michigan case that was also considered a historic lawsuit. And let's see. Oh, we'll talk about that another time. And so, I just really wanted to get you guys to understand what was going on. Like the judge said, we would do well to listen to these students, hear their cries for education, continue to activate your rights as parents, continue to pursue educational justice, continue to pursue a high quality education. We're not talking about, just basic and minimum, like move beyond that, move beyond what the states are interpreting as basic and minimum, and you need to be there prepared for the battle. Okay. And so I give you all this information so that you can understand what's happening across the US, how parents and students are activating their rights through the courts for a high quality public education. We here at National Parents Union are doing the same thing. Just a reminder, if you have any questions after I've given you all this information, you can always reach out to me, Christina at npunion.org. Also, we have an up and coming town hall meeting. If you have not registered for that, I will leave you with the link. Make sure you register for that up and coming town hall meeting. Let's see here. Again, thanks for bearing with me and my not so friendly skill of navigating on the internet while I'm doing a live. And so let's see. I have a whole bunch of tabs open. Here you can see, I'm going to show you again. Let's go to it. I'm practicing, y'all. That's how you master stuff. You continue to practice it. So here you can see our website. And that is at nationalparentsunion.org. Again, you see the tabs. You click on it. Right here, you're going to click on NPU Town Hall Meeting. Right here is the pod grant, information. You can have our membership here at National Parents Union. It's free. Definitely fill out that membership application. You can see our election 2020 response letters because we didn't hear about K through 12 as a priority in education through presidential debates. You can see our Every Family Votes campaign. And right here we have a legislative corner. Well, I am always sharing this information that I bring to you on Tuesdays in written format. So you can definitely share that out. And also we have some parent power ups right there. But right here is where you'll go to register for the town hall. Make sure that you don't walk away and not register, because I know how the day gets. A lot of times we can go throughout our day and we're like, oh, I meant to do that. And then it happens and you're like, oh no, I missed it, right? Don't let that be you. Make sure that you register for the up and coming town hall, Authentic Voices of Parents who are all fighting the good fight. All of us are here fighting the good fight for our children to have a high quality education so that they thrive and not just barely survive K through 12. You don't get a redo. I like to repeat that. You do not get a redo. So I want you, if you need any help, reach out to one of us here at National Parents Union. You need help understanding your rights, definitely reach out to one of us. I want to make sure that your children are well and they're thriving. Here is the town hall. And now we're going to end the session. I hope that that is helpful. I will see you again on Thursday where I have Managing Day to Day with me and a special guest. All right, talk to you soon. Make sure you share this information with your neighbor. I hope you're all well. I hope that you're all thriving. Goodbye to America's beautiful children. We love you as always, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.